Barbarossa was the code name for Adolf Hitler's invasion of the Soviet Union. He assumed it would be another win for his blitzkrieg machine, but he was dead wrong.
One of the ways the Russians fought back was with a squadron of mystery pilots. Now, at the time, the Nazis are wondering,
who were the mystery pilots and why were they so deadly? June 28th, 1942. After its initial invasion of Russia has bogged down in a war of attrition, the Nazis are launching a summer offensive and making some significant advances in the south. But on this evening, outside the city of Stavropol, a brand new threat is preparing to strike. Silent, deadly, and unlike anything the Nazis have ever faced before.
It's nighttime, the Germans are resting. Suddenly they hear this very unique sound, like branches whistling in the wind. And before they know it, their base just lights up in a series of explosions.
It's an air raid by the Russians, and it's not just one. Night after night, the Germans are attacked from above by pilots who seem to have incredible aim and whose planes make this weird sound. To the Germans, it's a mystery. Who are these guys?
You can imagine how terrifying it would be to be out at night, minding your business, doing your job, and you hear this whistling in the distance. You can't see it. You can't protect yourself. You have no idea if you're safe.
Many soldiers will tell you they can identify different aircraft from afar, just by the sounds they make.
that's right. You can easily tell the difference between a little bird and a Chinook.
But in this case, the Germans couldn't hear much of anything. It slowed down their reaction speed. They had no time to duck and cover.
We asked our experts what's behind all this.
Former naval aviator Ward Carroll says the Germans figured out the identity of the pilots when they shot a few down.
The Germans were shocked to realize that all of the pilots were female.
Here's some photos of these mystery pilots. Dictator Joseph Stalin had formed this all-female combat air squadron, officially known as the 588th Regiment, at the behest of female aviator Marina Roskova.
400 women were put through an accelerated flight program.
But why were they so deadly? That tied back to the strange sound their planes made. Turns out these top-notch women were given bargain basement gear, outdated wooden planes better suited for crop dusting than bombing raids.
So the PO-2, the Mule, was a early 20th century technology biplane. It would have been more at home in World War I than World War II. Canvas, wooden, very basic, very rudimentary.
Even so, these women figured out a way to use these planes that would provide that element of surprise.
And once they got close to their bombing area, they'd idle their engines and glide down towards their target. This meant that they were effectively silent. All anyone could hear was the sound of the wind going over and under their wings. So it would have created this really eerie, almost otherworldly sounding sound. You wouldn't know where they were or what they were targeting until you heard the explosion.
The Germans would create a name for these unique attackers: Die Nachtdixen, aka the Night Witches.
The type of plane actually plays into the nickname that these pilots had. These wooden planes were akin to broomsticks, and the fact that you couldn't hear the plane coming, you just heard this whistling sound, was like a witch flying a broom through the night sky.
So why haven't we heard more about these deadly pilots? Sadly, although the Night Witches were the most highly decorated unit in the Soviet Air Force, they were disbanded after the war and excluded from the big Victory Day parade in Moscow, leaving history the same way they arrived, as a shadowy, secret legend.
By the end of World War II, the Soviet Night Witches had flown 30,000 combat missions. That's a huge number.
You know, over here in the US, we had an all-female air group called the WASPs, the Women Air Force Service Pilots. They tested planes, and they helped train male fighter pilots. But unlike their Russian counterparts, they never saw a day of combat.